Welcome to Open Range. I'm Perry Schumacher. Tonight as my guest, I've got the Gary Emineth. I get Gary back beg him to come back every couple months, and tonight's the night. Welcome back to Open Range, and you get to sit on the opposite side of the desk tonight, Gary.
I like sitting here, Perry, but I always kind of a little nervous when I'm doing the interview. I always get to ask the question. So you're asking me, and I'm going like, what does anybody care what I think about anything? So, but here I am. We'll just kind of shoot away.
Well, we're going to start. Well, I think people are interested because I think you're kind of a Renaissance man. You have a lot of interest in a lot of things. And I know you and your wife are avid readers. So the Odyssey is out right now. We're going to start here. Do you plan on going to the movie?
I did. I already saw it.
You did? Great.
I did. I was down in Omaha, Nebraska a week ago, and it was a Sunday afternoon, and I wanted to go to the IMAX theater, but I couldn't get IMAX theater tickets. But I did talk my wife into going with me to it, and I'm a big fan of Matt Damon, and I've watched, of course, him in a lot of shows because he's a great actor. And but I enjoyed it, but it was some of the parts took me a little bit back, and I was thinking, I'm glad I don't have my 6 or 7-year-old here with me.
Did you find that it followed the book, or I can't decide whether to go or not. The people I trust. Matt Walsh, Steve Day says it's way too woke. They ruined it. They deconstructed everything. The man is, Odysseus is wondering, should have I really done this? He's reflecting. The women think they should be in charge. You know, it's not a period movie. Did you find that, or do you recommend I go?
Oh, I absolutely think you should go. I think it's a phenomenal show. Here, a couple things. I mean, what they did is, if you're familiar with the Greek, I'm a Greek historian buff. You know, I've done a lot of the reading on the Athenians and the war at Marathon and the 300. You know, the 300 cartoon kind of thing they did was kind of freaky. But I got a guy, Stephen Pressfield, who I'm a big fan of his writing. I've read all his books. He wrote a book called The Gates of Fire, and that's when Persia was invading the Battle of Thermopylae, where basically 300 Spartans hold off, and King Leonidas dies, and they hold off this 1.5 million Persian army with, there's multiple thousands of people, but there's a little gap. And the Persians were a great empire. So I literally just bought a book in Omaha when I was there about the Persians and their empire, the Fire of the Persians by Tom Holland, who's a Brit historian. And it's a fabulous book. I'm just getting started in it. But because of that, what happens is, with the Odyssey, you know, it's all ties into Troy and the Trojan horse. And it's really not in the Odyssey, the story of the Trojan horse. It's part of Homer's work. But what's fascinating to me is how he integrates that in. I mean, I think it's quite good. What's interesting to me is the effects of the different monsters and characters and the sea. I think they're overreacting when they say it's gone woke, because Penelope, the Odysseus' wife, who is kind of being courted, and the guys are after her, you know, to remarry, because Odysseus has been gone for 10 years dealing with the Trojan horse and the War of Troy, and trying to get his way back, loses his way. I think they've done a good job of diminishing all the Greek gods, because they sometimes. That's part of the whole part of Homer is the Greek gods, and if you've studied Greek history, there's a lot related to them. And you know, and I love Roman history, the Roman Empire, and you kind of tie that in, the Roman gods and the Greek gods. They some kind of play off each other a little bit, different names, and just but you know, Greek history is so important to American history. Athens is the beginning of really democracy as we know it, and you know, if it wouldn't have been certain battles where the Greeks held off the Persians, we would maybe not have America like it is, or the Roman Empire like it is, or Great Britain that was, you know, part of our heritage as Americans. There's really important things about the Greeks fighting back. And so Homer, when he writes the Odyssey and, you know, Odysseus, it's an important part of our history as Americans. I think it's important to see it. But I wouldn't get lost into the nuances of everything related to what the book is, because Hollywood never does that.
I just reread the book because I thought, if I don't go to the movie, I want to know. I couldn't remember it, so in the last week I reread the book. It's fabulous, you know. But
it is.
I want you to text me the name of that book. I'm taking a trip in September to Europe, and on the long flight, I want to read that Persian history book. Okay, so get me the name of that if you wouldn't mind.
I will. Actually, Tom Holland wrote another one called Dominion, and it's fascinating, Perry, being a Catholic and being a man of faith. What's interesting is when I was looking up Holland to see if it's legit, is he a historian? Because sometimes they write it in fiction, and I like historical fiction as well, because sometimes fiction can tell things better than just dates and times and geography. And Holland wrote a book called Dominion. I just got that, ordered that on Amazon, came, and what happened is he talks about how Christianity, the pivot of Christianity, changed the world forever and its role. And what happened is he grew up with Catholic roots, and maybe I'm not sure they were Catholic, but maybe it could have been Anglican. But he kind of, I don't want to say he left his faith, he just wasn't practicing. But he started writing Dominion, and he started to be confronted with this God that would send his son to die, and then they would, the most painful, brutal form of death was crucifixion, and the Romans did that, obviously, and consequently, his thinking is, why would God allow his son to be crucified? And he goes, I kind of remember these stories growing up, and he gets into doing this history, the impact it had on the world because of what he's done studying the Greeks, and ends up happening is he goes back to his faith and says, this is one of the most amazing stories, and so he's gone back to his faith, and he's changed the whole opening to his book, etc., related to it. It's called Dominion, Tom Holland, and I just ordered it. I got it a few days ago, opened it up, looked at it, have not read it, so I can't necessarily say I'm going to agree with 100% of it, but I don't always like when I read Christian books, which I do, in historical fiction, I like to get other perspectives on it, even if they don't agree with my theology all the way, because it forces me to be a better analytical thinker and to better understand the history and what the rest of the world's looking at in that context.
So you went to the movie and you never thought it got woke at all, or you never got lost in that?
I don't get this thing about the women, because, Odysseus in the movie, he gets caught and he's trying to get away, and this woman, seduces Odysseus, as you know. And they don't get all sexual in it, except for there's one scene that kind of does it. So I think they downplay it. Hollywood tends to make that the scene of everything. It's like there was a movie many years ago, Richard Gere starred in, about David. King David, was king, second king of the United Kingdom, the 12 tribes of Israel, around 1000 BC. And they did a show on it, and it all focused on Bathsheba and the whole idea of his failures related to being, his infidelity, and for those of you who know the story, I won't get lost in it to digress. But what happens is Hollywood will tend to take and exploit all the sexual content of it. They didn't do that in this. And I think what they did with some of the monsters, they take some liberty because of how they have to deal with it. But I just didn't really get lost into wokeness, because I think sometimes you can look for that all the time and get lost in it. I didn't. I would encourage you to do it, and I'd love to get your thoughts on it.
You think people that aren't familiar with the book, like me, like I said, I just reread it, but I hadn't read that thing since high school, so I couldn't remember a lot about it. But if you're not familiar with the book, is it still a good movie?
It is, but some of it you miss a lot. It's kind of like you can read the Bible the first time and get some things out of it, but the more you study it, the more you know, and the more it goes like, wow. But to be honest, I had read quite a bit about it. I saw when it came out, it was going to come out a couple years ago, so I kind of followed it throughout the development of and I read an article about where they break from what the book has, why they didn't have certain portions of it, and they had reasons why he did that, and I kind of go, I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that.
I just wonder, it's such a great story, especially after you reread it. I mean, to think that this guy wrote this book that long ago, what a classic. Why redo anything and reinterpret anything? Walsh's complaint was he thought Penelope and people like that felt that they should be in charge, and if you go back to that time, obviously women weren't in charge, you know what I mean? So stuff like that is what bothered him. And why take a great story and try to modernize it when it's already great because it's great. It wouldn't have lasted. You don't go change the Bible either, you know?
Yeah, fair enough. Here's what I would say, Perry, that with Penelope in part. You know, what happened is Odysseus is the king of the island, if you will,
Yep.
just like the Greek states, the way they were set up. And when he left, she wanted him to come back. And one of the things when he comes back, the story is basically about his revenge for the guys that were suiting, were wanting to marry her and, be the king. And she pushed back. And I think she played a role in that. And I think that's an overstatement as far as her being in charge, because she was the queen and her role was to still be in charge. I think it's interesting, her son, as he matures, wants to know about his dad. He wants to be king, and he's fighting with his mother, and his mother's basically pushing back on him. And I just don't. I think he's I think he's overreacting to that, in my opinion. But I'd love to get your thoughts on it.
Well, my brother went to it, and you say it's all right, so maybe I'll get there. Are you disappointed that you didn't see it in IMAX?
I would have loved this. I would have loved seeing it in IMAX. The graphics and the images and the scenery and the ocean and the monsters. I mean, it's like, I would have loved to see it in IMAX, and I still might do it again if I could. It's just that I couldn't get in for 3 days, and I was only in Omaha for a couple, and so I just said, well, maybe another day.
Okay, folks, that's cultured Gary Emineth right there. We'll be back with a little bit more politics after the break. Please join us.
Stop out to our facility, Highway 22 South. Let us build a truck for you.
Find relief for what ails you at Steep Me Tea Apothecary. Teas, supplements, tinctures, and more. Formulated to fight whatever has you down. We're Bismarck Mandan's favorite place to find delicious, natural, and easy ways to alleviate symptoms brought on by anything from colds to cancer. Brew a better you at Steep Me Tea Apothecary. Steep Me products may cause side effects, including but not limited to improved mood, deeper sleep, enhanced hydration, renewed sense of smell, increased energy levels, superior balance, boosted immunity, proper digestion, restored sense of calm, and a delightful smelling home.
Welcome to Arrowhead Cleaners. Newly renovated, modernized, and ready to make your cleaning needs hassle-free. From commercial and residential wash and fold laundry services to the latest in professional dry cleaning techniques, we are dedicated to your unique needs, offering alterations, fabrications, and even custom hat making. So whether you're a busy professional, a family on the go, or even a rodeo champion, Arrowhead Cleaners is here to take your things from messed up to dressed up. Now celebrating our 64th year in Arrowhead Plaza.
Welcome to Radiant Retreat Tanning and Spa in Mandan, where a relaxing spa experience meets the latest in healing innovations. Take total control of your massage in our Hydro Massage Bed. Experience whole body healing in our Zero Body Cryo Bed. Let our salt sauna and halo generator restore your respiratory and skin health. And of course, tailored tanning will keep you looking as good as you feel. Discover your best self at Radiant Retreat, 1307 1st Street Northeast, Mandan.
Are you dealing with arthritis, nerve and back pain, dry skin, or superficial wounds, but found no relief? Give Stewart's Natural Health a try. For over 4 decades, Stewart's Natural Health has been helping people and animals with herbal and natural oil lotions, ointments, and creams with a mission to help you relieve pain and feel your best using the power of nature. Discover the safe, drug-free solution to your pain, guaranteed or your money back. Visit stewartsnatural.health today.
West River Equipment of Mandan is here to help you maintain peak productivity in your operation. As an authorized dealer for many high-quality equipment lines, we have the new and used equipment it takes to make your farming, ranching, or construction operation profitable and efficient. West River Equipment also has the parts on hand and the experienced technicians in our shop to get your equipment back in action fast. Find what you need at West River Equipment on Old Red Trail in Mandan.
Welcome back to Open Range. I'm Perry Schumacher of West Fargo. I've got the Gary Emineth with me tonight. We get to do this every couple months. Gary, we're on to a little political discussion. We started with culture. We'll get to a little politics. You have a wide circle of friends. Not sure if you have any proud Democrat Socialists as friends, but like cockroaches, they are coming out of the cracks in the Democrat Foundation. Part of their now announced platform is the elimination of the Supreme Court and the United States Senate. Now, you know I'm not the biggest fan of the United States Senate, but that has more to do with how it functions and its members. Do you think we should get rid of the United States Senate, Gary?
Absolutely not. We absolutely should not. We should not get rid of the filibuster either. I've been really thinking about this filibuster and this role the Senate plays, and I think what's important related to the U.S. Senate is that filibuster and its really cloture, which has to do with needing 60 votes. And when that happens, where the House is a simple majority, 50% plus one, and they can get things done. And I think you get that whiplash that occurs from the right and then to the left as that occurs. And my thought is with the 60 votes and only being 100 senators, there has to be a consensus. And sometimes things don't get passed and they get slowed down because of the filibuster. And it's the rules by which the Senate operates under. And I feel we should not get rid of it. I know they've made some changes where certain places they can work around it. And okay, but to me it's a function in a matter of time until they get to a point where the filibuster is gone. And then I think the country has big problems because the Senate plays its role and it requires more of a compromise sometimes to get a bill through. The House can take a left or a right position and they can be a little bit extreme. But what happens is when you move it to the Senate to try to get it passed, because it takes both houses to get something passed before it goes on to the president, that 60 votes, where a lot of times it might be a 55-45 split in the Senate or 53, whatever that number is, they got to pull somebody from the other party away that's in the minority of party. And I think that's very, very important to allow in our country to kind of stay, I don't want to say middle of the road, but I think sometimes we can get extreme on both sides. And while I might push for more of an extreme that people would see on the right, that same thing's true when the Democrat liberals are in power. And when you go to the Democrat Socialists that are this movement that you're going to talk about a little bit further, or at least I'll have some more opinions on it, I do think that you need that 60 vote in the Senate to do it. And that's why it's probably one of the most prestigious groups in the history of politics in the world is the United States Senate because of the power it brings in the country at this point in time. And so, I mean, that's foolish to think they're going to get rid of the Senate. That's just jargon, just like they want to stack the Supreme Court.
Yeah, it's supposed to be the deliberative body, but the DSA, these Democrat Socialists, have the momentum across the country. Another one won last night in Michigan. So if they get enough momentum, that's the thing we have to worry about. If they want to abolish the Senate, they certainly aren't going to worry about the filibuster, are they? They're going to get rid of that immediately. And are you concerned? You just said you think this is a fad, or is this the direction the Democrats are going? I think it's the direction they're going. Through 50 years of education in college, this is where they're headed. They are communists, and it's coming our way. We got grocery stores being built in New York City, Gary, public-owned grocery stores.
You know, Perry, here's what I would say about the DSA, the Democrat Socialist. I would correlate it, when I met you, was through the Tea Party. And I think it's a picture of looking at what happened when the when the Tea Party came about. I was chairman of the party and Obama got elected, and they came up, and the conservatives, these were family, God-fearing people that tend to be conservative, could have been on social issues, but it was pre-MAGA. And these were people that had not been involved in the political process. When I was chairman of the Republican Party in North Dakota, the establishment pushed back and they were freaking out and afraid of them. So they started fighting against them. And I would even throw a little bit of the Ron Paul crowd in there that were more libertarian. And as party chairman, I embraced them and said, hey, the Tea Party people, these are our base. Ronald Reagan would always say, these are our base, the conservatives. That's our core supporters. And so what happened is the establishment pushed back. And eventually my role and your role, we played a part, and you can speak to that, was we felt they needed to get involved in the political party process. And through that time, that formed a conservative coalition in Congress. And that put pressure on John Boehner, who couldn't get things passed at different times because the conservative minority, he needed that block of votes that stuck together to get legislation. So Boehner then reached across the aisle to the Democrat, the more moderate, not the lefties, but the moderate, and had to govern or at least pass bills through the House with the liberal Democrats, or moderates and liberals, where the conservatives hung together. Eventually those groups got integrated into the party and became more powerful in the party. And I think the Republican Party in some cases in North Dakota and around the country are better for it. Now, how do we spin that with the Democrats? I think it's very similar to what's going on. There's this energy, there's this passion, and people are frustrated what's going on in the country. And so you're seeing, I think, even some disillusioned MAGA people might even join that DSA group because they're just becoming anti-government, they don't trust our institutions anymore, and rightly so. I don't blame them. I'm kind of in the same boat with they are. What happens is the two parties in the leadership have not, I think, addressed some of these issues. So you see these movements, and I see that DSA is just being opposite of the Tea Party, but very similar. And if they get enough people and get together, they will bind and hold the Democrats at hostage. I think if they become the majority party in Congress, they could have the same exact thing. If you think back, put your Tea Party hat on, you're going to see it with the DSA. I think that's coming.
Yeah, but I'll take it this way. Tea Party good, DSA evil.
Amen.
You know,
Agreed.
They're opposites of they're same thing happening, a groundswell movement, but the entire result is completely different. Now, I want to ask, do you think it's completely predictable? You take 20, well, heck, Reagan even talked about it. He's the first guy that let all these immigrants into the country, tried to make a deal, and then the Democrats broke the deal with them. And we saw 14 million here recently under Biden. When you bring all these third world people in, you don't think they're going to vote for socialists? Seems to me it was all part of the plan. It was a natural result. Do you agree?
I agree with that, yes. But I will say this. I think a lot of people that come here legally as immigrants come here because they love what America is about, and they came here because they liked capitalism, they liked opportunity, they liked the freedom, they liked the grocery shelves full of groceries they could buy at a cheap price. I was with someone the other day that was a national person, international, he was a Brit. I was actually at a conference call with him yesterday, and his comment was about food and restaurants. He says, one thing I've learned about Americans, they love to eat. Because you got food, you got variety, you got restaurants, you got all these cultures blended together. And I think a lot of people that come here legally love that about America. Now, when they come across the border in swarms, I think those are a lot of people looking for handouts, and they're maybe escaping all kinds of things in their country, but there's a block of them being organized by countries that are not friends of ours to disrupt our republic, and that's the downside of what's going on. Because you're right, that is what the Democrats want to do. They want to get control by getting them to the polls, voting legal or illegal. They don't really care.
Let's show that first graph I have tonight. This is a Fox poll recently. Gary, we keep hearing, like in North Dakota, we're full of normal Democrats. But this shows you DSA is a little bit more popular than I think we want to admit. And I'm not sure we can keep these monsters under our bed. Your opinion after you look at these stats here?
Well, I am very worried about our country when it comes to free market and capitalism. I mean, Trump isn't a purist conservative. There's a lot of things I disagree. Trump's kind of a transactional guy. You never know what, this tariff, I'm opposed to tariffs. I think there's some things that need to be dealt with in the bad deals. They should have been done away with. But what happens is when you see that capitalism on the bottom, that's low at that, and the favorable at 41%. When America loses that and we move towards socialism, I mean, who are we kidding? Do we really think that when it comes to the market, the market will correct itself? Because when a market is running in a free market economy, the people with the checkbook that's spending money make the decisions. They say, that's a winner, that's a loser, I buy it, I won't buy it, I buy Amazon or I won't. Those are decisions I, as a consumer, as a free-thinking human American, I can make those decisions. Do they actually think that some bureaucrat that's going to make a decision is going to have better insight than all the people with their own pocketbook spending their own money. So when you give me free money and it doesn't cost me anything, I make different choices when it comes to spending. Oh, that's a windfall I got, so I'm just going to go spend it foolishly. Or if I got a bureaucrat that's trying to socially engineer things by getting me to give me free money so I get hooked onto the system, which is what the Democrats did to African Americans. And that's why we still have that welfare problem in our country. We've hooked these people on. We've promoted single moms, so divorce doesn't matter. All these family issues just get eroded, and we've seen that happen across this country. And it's no question, when you look at the numbers, social people want something free, and that's what's happening. The more they get, the more they want. That's a losing program.
We end up 39-40 trillion in debt with 7.5% interest rates. Let's circle all the way back to the beginning of this conversation. At the Senate, the United States Senate. Do you think we should go back to where the state legislatures vote on who the senator should be rather than the public?
You know, Perry, I like that idea that the legislature would pick one from amongst their peers or lobby it. I think I would support that. I think there was some real merit in it because it came through a deliberative body. I do not like the process that has gone down the road where we have primaries making all decisions for us and people that aren't Republicans making the Republican nominee decision. As Democrats, same thing happened on the other side. This primary, they say everybody should participate. That's a general election. Parties should select their own candidate. I'd like the deliberative body electing a person. I would support it 100%.
I think we'd also get maybe a little bit more turnover there, right? It would change instead of these incumbents staying there for a lifetime. Folks, we got to head to break number 2. We'll be back with Gary Emineth, talk more politics. After the break, please join us.
Base Flug Trailers of Dickinson is a family-owned dealer with expert staff that know their products front to back. We stock over 150 units of all types and can custom order a trailer with the unique features and capabilities you require for brands you can trust. Our experienced service team is the reason we're also the best place to have your trailer customized or repaired. Count on Base Flug Trailers of Dickinson to keep you hauling.
Come on in and experience small-town hospitality and the personalized care that makes car buying a pleasure.
We know that every journey starts with the right car. Whether it's school drop-off, weekend road trips, or your daily commute, we have the right vehicle for you and your family.
With trusted brands, affordable prices, and a team that treats you like family, finding your next car has never been so easy.
We pride ourselves on personal attention and quality service. Bassett Motors, where our customers send their friends.
Yeah, U.S. Cattlemen is a member organization that each member has a vote in anything we do with policy. We're representing the independent cattleman or the cow-calf guy or an independent feeder or whatever. We like to support the independent producer. We're talking about mandatory ID, we're talking about cool, we're talking about all the legislation that's going to be coming down with the new administration. There's going to be lots of moving and shaking, so always check us out at our website, uscattleman.org.
We're talking to people today about investments. Let's see if we can get somebody. Excuse me, sir, do you have a retirement account?
I do. I'm invested in some annuities.
Fixed income? How is that?
It was better a few years ago. Each year, it buys less and less, barely keeping up.
That's where gold can make a difference. Unlike fixed payouts, gold rises with inflation, so you're not stuck with a low fixed payment.
So gold isn't stuck in the past like my annuity?
Don't let inflation erode your retirement savings. Invest in gold. Invest with Noble Gold Investments.
I'm $27,000 in credit card debt.
Okay.
You have to radically do something different, because if you keep doing what you've been doing, you're going to keep getting what you've been getting.
Now's not the time to be doing math. The time to be doing math was when we didn't go into $200,000 of debt.
If you are freaked out and you're stuck in these debt payments and you think it has to be a part of your life, it doesn't.
We are ladies of another view. Join us every weekday morning at 9:00 a.m. as we discuss the big topics from North Dakota, the nation, and around the world.
We chat with everyone from celebrities and medical professionals to politicians, local business owners, and neighbors about the topics and stories that affect all of us.
We are unscripted and uncensored real news from real people. So join us every weekday morning for Ladies of Another View on Beck.
Welcome back to Open Range. I'm Perry Schumacher. I've got Gary Emineth with me tonight. Gary, once again, I want to thank you for letting me do this once a week. I really enjoy it.
I'm glad you're doing it, Perry, because I get a night off. And so, by the way, just as a sponsor promotion, you know, I only do my own show on Friday nights. Monday night, I worked with some Democrats, and Pat Hart did a great job giving different perspectives. I may not agree with many of the things he talks about, but I think it's important for the viewers and people to see all sides of the issue. So we have Democrats on Monday. Dustin Goverlau is now going to host the Republican office holders, et cetera, through the November election. So Republican Tuesday night. And then Wednesday's you, Perry. Thursday we do Will Gardner with Real Estate, and Friday I do one show. So I'm down to one show, and we'll see what happens after the November election. But so you only get to see me on Fridays unless I'm a guest for one of our other hosts. So Perry, thanks for inviting me.
You bet. Thanks for letting me do this. You and I met during the Tea Party years of 2009 or so. Everybody involved in our Tea Party caucus during that time was sincere in the cause. Unfortunately, many who were insincere infiltrated it for personal gain. Many of those who were insincere ran for political office. I think of people like Paul Ryan, Kevin McCarthy, Eric Cantor, who wrote the book Young Guns, among others. They may have started being down for the cause, but it certainly did not maintain it. Now we have MAGA. Do you think MAGA has been infiltrated, blocked, or is it still a work in progress? We're almost 1.5 cycles into this thing. What do you think?
You know, I think the MAGA movement is struggling. When you got guys like Tucker Carlson and people that are in the national media, a few of the Fox folks have still hung in with Trump and the MAGA, the Laura Ingrams, Jesse Waters, you see with Sean Hannity. But I think we're having some problems on the MAGA front because Trump has taken positions that many of the people that joined him, like anti-war position, that's really hurt him going into Iran. I think everybody applauded what happened in Venezuela, but that was a nice, easy break. I think Trump got a little too out ahead of his skis, if you will, when he thought he could go into Iran. I mean, there's a reason 47 years they've been doing what they've done, and we've not been able to kind of break through that with what's gone on with the Iranian people. But I think Trump's position by going into war, I think going into Cuba, that's surely coming. He may wait till after the midterms, but there's no question he's going to do something. And I think Trump focusing on the Western Hemisphere, I am all in on that. I think it's way overdue. I'm a fan of that. But I do think the MAGA movement is breaking apart a little bit because people have gotten disillusioned with Trump, and I think Trump's made some faux pas. I think his cryptocurrency stuff that he's been a big proponent of, a lot of the MAGA people are big crypto fans, but then Trump, makes $1.4 billion, and he's a businessman doing it. But you look at some of the things in the media that's come out and what he's profited off it, you have to just scratch your head and say, I'm not sure this is the way it functions. And, it's one thing to attack what he's done different parts of the swamp and the what we'd call inside the Beltway, which is good. But he just does some weird attacks on people, and I think he's done things to hurt our Supreme Court. I mean, while they're not perfect, there is a conservative Supreme Court. When he takes these personal attacks on different things, it's hurt people that all of a sudden say, I'm for these changes, but it doesn't have to really be this way. And so I think the MAGA movement is struggling, and I think it'll be interesting what comes and how it pivots on the midterms. If the Democrats get control of the House and the Republicans might have a one-seat majority in the Senate, that's going to be a challenge for Trump in his last half of his second term.
I'm frustrated. I saw a thing the other day, I think it's 5 times now that the Republicans have had all branches of government, Senate, Congress, and then the presidency. And it just doesn't seem like this Congress and this Senate are getting anything done for this guy. You know what I mean? And I don't know if it's because he doesn't push hard enough. I don't know if it's because John Thune is such a feckless leader. He's not hard enough as Mitch McConnell used to be, or maybe they're stalling him on purpose, knowing that they can last him out. But name something since the big, beautiful bill that they've done. They just haven't done anything for the American people. And I don't think he talks about the American people long enough. He'll talk about the stock market, Gary, but when you go to the grocery store or out to eat, the stock market doesn't mean anything to people. That's long term. If I talk to people here I work with, they want to know what they're making per hour and what they can buy with it. They're not that worried about their 401k right now.
Well, you know, I think what's interesting, Perry, to your point, is when it comes to the stock market, a lot of them are people that are on the verge of retiring, that have retired and their money's in their 401k or some type of retirement where that they've seen it growing. That group of people have become more conservative. Even those hippies from the 60s or Vietnam protesters, many of them I know today are now Republicans. They're conservatives. They believe in America. It's a totally different era. But that younger crowd that are still moved back home with mom and dad and are 27 years old, you know, that don't want to work or maybe can't find a job or maybe choose not to work. Maybe that's more like it because there's plenty of jobs out there. I went by something the other day and they're paying like $80,000 for some position that I'm going, are you kidding me?
Yes,
you know, and so I think there's plenty of money being made out there, but people don't want to work. And that younger crowd is what's buying into that DSA. Consequently, if we don't get that corrected in this country long term, we are going to end up with a much more socialistic country. We're going to end up like Europe, and they're floundering. And what happened is America, in our defense, well, that's one area where I agree with Trump, where he wanted $1.5 trillion spending for our military. We need to build that back up because China, Russia, and Iran still, these are serious threats to our way of life in America. And if we don't understand that, we're going to have problems in another generation or two. Our world and our lifestyle and the freedoms we have are not going to look like they do. So they better wake up and get their act together, the young people, and get back engaged in this process because socialism is not where it's at.
November's coming soon. We're already it's going to be Labor Day here soon. And if Democrats win, obviously he's neutered. But even if Republicans maintain control of one of the bodies, it's always just kind of natural that second half of the second term, the president is done. And all the talk gets to be about who's going to run for the next presidency in the Republican Party. You see Trump sitting on, I don't see him sitting on the sidelines, passively letting the Republican Party decide who's going to take over after him, or is he going to name the successor?
You know, I think that's an interesting thought. To be honest, I've watched a lot about what J.D. Vance has been doing. I think part of our dysfunction in the U.S. Senate is J.D. Vance has been running around doing other things when he should be in the Senate. You know, he is that guy that presides over the Senate as far as hitting the gavel, and he should be there. He's a former senator. He should be lobbying these senators to get Trump stuff in there. I've read multiple articles where he has spent not enough time at the Capitol dealing with legislation when he should. I think that's going to hurt his candidacy when it comes time to run. I think Trump wants to pick his successor. I hope the American people don't think it's Don Jr. I think that's going to be a horrible mistake. I hope the MAGA crowd doesn't think, oh, Don Jr., because Don Jr. played a big part in J.D. Vance being that guy working with the Tucker Carlsons in the tech world. So I think there's some issues with that. Marco Rubio, I love Marco Rubio, but he's been pretty loyal to Trump's world, but he's still kind of a long-term Senate guy that I think a lot of the MAGA people won't get behind him. So is there a dark horse out there that we don't know about? I think that's still to be determined, and I think it's not going to be automatically J.D. Vance and Marco Rubio. In fact, I commented the other day to someone that I think Doug Burgum doing a nice job as Interior Secretary. He's been around, he's taken some heat lately. I saw him on the pool, related to the pool in Washington. That's been a problem. But, you know, guys like Doug Burgum are going to give it a shot. I think Doug's going to be back in there. So you're going to see different people in that race. And I think Trump's going to try to stay engaged, but I think that's why he wants to get through the midterm before he deals finally with Iran, I hope, with what needs to happen, because then he doesn't have that exposure. But I think Cuba's next, and he's going to do things to stay in the spotlight like he always does. And yes, he will try to put his finger on the scale for his person, and we'll see what that brings.
I'm not going to talk to you before this happens because I only bring you back every couple months, but it's going to be a year here that Charlie Kirk was assassinated in 1 month. And the cookie has kind of crumbled since that happened. I thought it was going to be a uniting force and we were going to go, and the opposite has happened. And it just shows you how he was necessary and how special he was, because he could do this, and it looks like very few others can.
I think there was some things crumbling around Charlie Kirk before he got assassinated. There was cracks in that foundation of that MAGA movement, and I think Charlie was wrestling through some things, at least what I've seen through the back channel. From what I've read, between different types of magazines, conservative, moderate, even liberal, I watched, kind of look at everything to kind of get a sense of it. I think there were fissures occurring. And, but without somebody like Charlie that rallied those young people around it, I mean, his wife is not it, Erica's not it. I mean, I feel bad for her, what she's going through and her family. But the movement is dissipating as far as I can see. I mean, even though they got stuff going on, you need a leader. And that's why the MAGA movement came out of the Tea Party. It's Ron Paul people. It was frustrated Americans. And Donald Trump spoke to that in people. And I just think we don't have that. I don't see anybody that's Donald Trump for the next 50 years. He's a unique character in history. He's going to be, he may be one of the guys at Mount Rushmore sometime. I wouldn't be surprised, because he's that much of a changed person if he can finish strong. He needs to finish strong. I don't know who's going to be out there, and I think the movement with Charlie Kirk has hurt since they've lost him, no question.
Quickly before break, are you tired of all the deals we've made with Iran? What number are we on right now?
It's a joke. You can't trust those people. The only way to deal with them is to get them out of power or just let them go on. We are not going to negotiate, and they're just going to outlast Trump, and they're going to outlast the next one. The only way this group's going to be done is if you go in and wash them into the sea, which is the only way you're going to stop what they're doing.
And America doesn't have that appetite, I don't think.
Nope, we do not.
Folks, we're going to be back. We're going to be back with Perry's Perspective, America's Mr. Hyde, after the break.
That concept of deodorant and the concept of stinky man body, and really putting it into perspective of how you've come up with a product that is going to take care of that day in and day out.
That's right. Absolutely. Took a lot of work, a lot of formulations, a lot of process to make sure that we're making a product that actually stands up to the rigors of what guys do on a daily basis. And, I feel very confidently to say that we've delivered on that experience.
So we're in a time where we're more cognizant about the things we're putting in our body, and really more importantly, the things we're putting on our body. And aluminum has been a big part of deodorant and masking scent and all the different things for a number of years. You pulled that piece that's kind of been that, I don't want to say not healthy, but the piece that people really wanted to eliminate. You eliminated it and still come up with a really good product.
Welcome to Arrowhead Cleaners. Newly renovated, modernized, and ready to make your cleaning needs hassle-free. From commercial and residential wash and fold laundry services to the latest in professional dry cleaning techniques, we are dedicated to your unique needs, offering alterations, fabrications, and even custom hat making. So whether you're a busy professional, a family on the go, or even a rodeo champion, Arrowhead Cleaners is here to take your things from messed up to dressed up. Now celebrating our 64th year in Arrowhead Plaza. Are you dealing with arthritis, nerve and back pain, dry skin, or superficial wounds, but found no relief? Give Stewart's Natural Health a try. For over 4 decades, Stewart's Natural Health has been helping people and animals with herbal and natural oil lotions, ointments, and creams with a mission to help you relieve pain and feel your best using the power of nature. Discover the safe, drug-free solution to your pain, guaranteed or your money back. Visit stewartsnatural.health today.
Ashley, North Dakota is where life moves a little slower, but never gets dull. From hunting, camping, and fishing to safe streets where kids can be kids, this is the best of small town living. And Ashley offers everything you need, from healthcare to hardware to countless ways to stay active. Here, we've invested in our future with major upgrades to roads, parks, and education. Whether you're here for the day or here for life, you'll find Ashley's where you ought to be.
There's never been a better time to rediscover the style, reliability, and all-season, all-terrain fun of the all-new Nissan lineup at the new and improved Ryan Nissan. Whether it's the sleek and stylish Murano, the adventure-ready Pathfinder, or the reimagined, ready-for-anything 2026 Rogue, the all-new Ryan Nissan has the vehicle of your dreams at a price perfect for any budget. It's time to rediscover your passion for the road. It's time to rediscover the all-new Ryan Nissan, engineered to endure.
Welcome back to Open Range. I'm Perry Schumacher. I've got Gary Emineth with me tonight. Gary, it's time. The last segment is Perry's Perspective. I've been doing this since March. Tonight it's called America's Mr. Hyde. We'll hear your opinion at the end, okay?
All right, sounds great. Fire away.
Throughout history, diaries have been kept to memorialize the actions of heroic people. The diaries of Anne Frank, for instance, chronicled her family's 2 years in hiding from the Nazis in Amsterdam during World War II. This past week, another hero's diary was exposed by Senator Rand Paul. It is the diary of COVID leader Anthony Fauci, a self-proclaimed deity indeed. While families were torn apart, children's lives turned upside down, businesses destroyed, and the elderly died alone, Dr. Anthony Fauci was busy doing what he did best, admiring himself in the mirror like the Greek god Narcissus, entranced by his own reflection. The diary highlights I have seen do not reveal a humble scientist knee-deep in a crisis. It revealed a raging narcissist far more obsessed with his own image than the truth. An entry on March 21st, 2020, a day nearly 10,000 people died, Fauci writes, "Big front page article about me appeared in the Washington Post. Very flattering." The very next day, as cases sort, he says this, "Press is going wild with me." Then the creme de la creme of narcissism. It is not hyperbole to say that today I am the most famous and talked about person in the country and one of the most recognizable persons in the world. Anne Frank hid from monsters. Fauci is a monster. He funneled U.S. taxpayer money into dangerous gain-of-function research in China, even though it was illegal. He was Dr. Jekyll in the glow of the spotlight and Mr. Hyde fiendishly hiding his complete duplicity in private. In January 2020, Fauci wrote that the wet market was not the source. If was not the source, it was the amplifier, and noted that most scientists he consulted through deliberate insertion was possible. Yet publicly, he and his allies pushed that natural origin narratives for years and worked to shut down the debate. While he obsessed over his press, his image, and his celebrity calls, he helped drive policies that crushed everyday Americans. As a solution to his policy suggestions, COVID cash was printed and deemed necessary. Shut down the economy with one hand, flood it with printed money the other. The result, maximum inflation rates. We're still battling those higher prices for food, gas, housing, and everything else today. This is what happens when a narcissist cares more about his legacy and the media profile than hard truths or economic reality. Public assurances that didn't match private knowledge. Science was whatever was convenient at the moment, often pulled straight out of thin air. Remember 6 feet apart? My God. Fauci even declared he was the science. He wasn't leading, he was starring in his own horror movie. At the end of World War II, we had the Nuremberg trials to hold those responsible for the immense suffering and deception accountable. Yet here, after one of the greatest crimes ever perpetrated on the citizens of America, no one will be held responsible. No trials, no accountability. It seems incomprehensible, but sadly entirely predictable in today's America. What is also inexplicable is that even with all this evidence written by him personally, Fauci remains a hero to the press and most on the left. People like Port and Heitkamp still think he should be given sainthood. Yes, he is still Dr. Jekyll to them. Fauci lied and people died, but he was presidential pardoned. Is it quite possible this is the best example of Trump derangement syndrome? I challenge you to name another person who did more to hurt his country and his fellow citizens than this man did. This Mr. Hyde took life, treasure, and trust entirely because of ego. Then the gutless monster pled the fifth, while the media pledged allegiance. He makes American serial killers look like amateurs, and he should be spending the rest of his life in prison, but will forever ever be wealthy and free. Now is the only thing we can do is make sure this never happens again. Otherwise, we will continue to reap what we sow. Gary, what's your impression of Saint Fauci?
Well, first of all, I applaud Rand Paul for pushing to get some of the facts out there. You know, what happens is when you started the show, you talked about the DSA and dealing with wanting to get rid of the U.S. Senate. Perry, I've been around a lot of politicians in my life, and I can tell you, when they start, many of them have good intentions. They get sucked in, they see power, they see themselves on TV, they enjoy it, they like having people take pictures of them with that famous person, and when that happens, that person's lost. They need to go. That's why when they get to Congress or to get elected to office for 20, 30 years, very few have the same heart as when they started, because they get sucked into it. They like the prestige, they like the power, they like the money, they like all that goes with the trappings of that kind of thing. And I've seen plenty of it, believe me, way more than I'd like, which is a little bit of the downside of the way we govern sometimes in this country. Consequently, that's where Fauci got. He got pulled in. He probably was a reasonable guy early on, but all that fame, when those diaries came out and it exposed him for what was going on, to me, that just makes the point that he was a scam and a fraud when this all went on, because what he did to shut down the debate, the discussion, and we still have not addressed what's gone on through just the idea of the antibodies by someone. I never got the shot. My wife did not get the shot. My kids didn't get the shot that were, and consequently, when that happens, we made a choice ourselves. And Fauci, they tried to strong arm all that media. And that's why I love what Elon Musk did when he took over Twitter and got X. He said, I'm going to expose this stuff. Consequently, we at least got some of the truth out there. And it's done nothing to put trust back into institutions. And science, people don't believe their doctor anymore. Now we got AI. We're on a very, very slippery slope because we aren't holding guys like that accountable. And frankly, while I love Trump, he's not doing himself or some of the people in the country any favors by some of the things and tactics he's used, which kind of ties in, because when it comes to narcissism, I'm not sure anybody's more of that than Donald Trump.
Let's be intellectually honest. You're right. Josh, I have a book cover there that I created with AI. Remember the classic Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde book? Gary, that one should be Fauci. I must have sent the wrong one. It had Fauci's face in there. Sorry about that. But Gary, you talked about how he not getting the shot. Fauci, he says in his diary, the morning he got the shot, he had a medical episode and had to be rushed to the hospital because he was suffering from some heart issue that very well could have been related to taking the shot. And he never reveals that to the public. It's just safe. He's a monster, isn't he?
Well, Perry, I ran into this doctor at a restaurant, and he discussed why he wouldn't do it. But he actually talked about how they were, in the medical community, forced into taking shots.
Yes.
That included everyone. I have a nephew that's a nurse, and he wouldn't take it, so he got laid off. They ended up bringing him back because then the science began to be honest with the rest of us. There was no intellectual honesty in this process. Why would they not allow someone to wrestle through, like we do in politics, the good and bad, and have some serious discussion? Well, they were telling us this is all that's going on. It wasn't. And now we find it's all been covered up, and now we don't want to talk about it. That is the whole problem with what's going on with it, and it's setting the American people up for this to come again in a much a worse way, I think, when it comes the second time around, because it demonstrated how people are like a bunch of lemmings. If they're told something, they get a little scared, and they get scared of the shadow, and they quickly lock themselves in the house. I think they demonstrated what they can do to manipulate the population in the world, not just America. And I worry about where that's going to lead to us as a country, because he should be charged, and they should force all these issues out and not allow this pleading the Fifth Amendment. If he wants to do it, then they need to expose more stuff. And that's what at least I appreciate about Trump. He is bringing information out that we don't always see, that comes from the Justice Department and what they've done coming after him and the Russian hoax and on and on and on. The guys at the CIA, Brennan and all those guys should be exposed for their lies that they brought to the American people, and Fauci was one of the biggest.
Now, I watched that hearing, and I appreciate the hearing, but the other side of the coin is it's just a dog and pony show because nothing ever happens. But it certainly looked like Fauci should have been on suicide watch after the hearings that day. He was being humbled quite extensively by all the Republican senators. Explain to me, Gary, if you can, it's a enigma, why Democrats love this guy.
Well, it was part of their story to get rid of Trump. You know, I'm not convinced when it comes all the way down to the political side of it, and the way the liberal media hid all this information and demanded people to follow. They saw that the people that were standing up to the government and to some of the positions were moral, conservative, Christian people, or free-thinking people, or people wanted to not give up their freedom. When you give up your freedom for security, you'll never get it back, because it's just going to be another monster that's going to get in charge. Democrats want to be controlled because they like socialism. The problem with it is when they're in charge, it's a disaster, because we're never going to have the country that we grew up believing and loving.
That's a good point. I think they're control people, and Fauci allowed them to take control, so that's why they like him. And folks, we can never let that happen again. Gary, I want to thank you for being on tonight. We'll see you in a couple months. It'll be fall season by then. Tell your wife hello, and folks, have a good evening.
Thank you.
Hey y'all, it's Trent on the loose. I want to tell you, Lady Blue and I, we got a lot of miles together, but you know what? You and I got a lot of miles together as well. And all I want to do is bring to you the information on how we maintain a domestic supply of food and fuel for future generations. So I'm going to continue to travel the world and unearth the stories that make it possible that we can live in a free United States of America.
Hello, friends. This is Culture Crossroads. Join me, Andrew Southwick, and my co-hosts, R.C. Williams and Juliana Ormond, as we tackle the issues shaping America. From politics to pop culture, to faith, freedom, family, and the future. From a faith-based conservative perspective that you won't get anywhere else. We stand at the intersection of faith and freedom. This is Culture Crossroads. Culture Crossroads, Sundays at 5 p.m. Central on BET TV.
Come on in and experience small-town hospitality and the personalized care that makes car buying a pleasure.
We know that every journey starts with the right car. Whether it's school drop-off, weekend road trips, or your daily commute, we have the right vehicle for you and your family.
With trusted brands, affordable prices, and a team that treats you like family, finding your next car has never been so easy.
We pride ourselves on personal attention and quality service. Facet Motors, where our customers send their friends.
Welcome to Arrowhead Cleaners. Newly renovated, modernized, and ready to make your cleaning needs hassle-free. From commercial and residential wash and fold laundry services to the latest in professional dry cleaning techniques, we are dedicated to your unique needs, offering alterations, fabrications, and even custom hat making. So whether you're a busy professional, a family on the go, or even a rodeo champion, Arrowhead Cleaners is here to take your things from messed up to dressed up. Now celebrating our 64th year in Arrowhead Plaza.
$27,000 in credit card debt.
Okay. You have to radically do something different, because if you keep doing what you've been doing, you're going to keep getting what you've been getting.
Hey y'all, it's Trent on the loose. Join me on the trip and unearth the stories on how we maintain a domestic supply of food and fuel for future generations of American citizens like our forefathers did.
Hey, I'm Corey Heppola, and a long time ago, I left my small town for a big city. Now, I wonder, what would it be like to move rural?
Just because we're small doesn't mean we can't have nice things.
So, I'm traveling to different small towns across the Midwest to find out.
It's like every year in the spring, there's always like a revitalization of just excitement.
This is my town.
Pull! Oh, jeez!
Sunday night, 6:30 on Beck TV.